perfect balance between slice of life and sports anime, amazing characters, incredible animations, and more. With shows as good as Haikyu, it's so easy to find yourself lost within the show that sometimes we fail to notice the lessons within them. So today, we're going to take a step back, relax, and reflect on the teachings embedded in this wonderful masterpiece. Greetings, loves of lore! I'm your host for today, Original Orchid, and welcome to this week's installment of the Whimsical Whispers Podcast, a podcast where we discuss stories of all kinds, including but not limited to thrilling reads, real experiences, shows, webtoons, and more every single Saturday. Now, without further ado, let's get into the episode. If you were to hop on Google right now and search up passion, you would find that Google defines passion as a feeling of intense enthusiasm towards or compelling desire for someone or something. Passion can range from eager interest in or admiration for an idea, proposal, or cause, to enthusiastic enjoyment of an interest or activity. And it's this intense enthusiasm or desire that allows us to see the fun in what we do rather than as work and succeed. For example, Keensa decided to play volleyball after he biked past an electronics store in middle school, which is displaying Krasno High School in a match during the spring inter-high. After hearing the name Small Giant, he took a peek at the screen and saw a boy who, like him, lacked height yet played the position of ace at this powerhouse school and was able to score against blockers much taller than he was. After he chose to join his junior high's volleyball club, after watching the Small Giant on TV, he was left at quite the inconvenience when he realized he was the only member. Rather than choosing to give up, though, his passion to play and conquer, just as Small Giant had prevailed, and he chose to practice more and more and more and more until his third year, when the school finally had enough members to participate in a tournament, in which, even though he lost first round, shocked everyone by his ability to hit even the worst sets, and his jumping abilities honed through his practice. As you can see, even in a position where he was alone, and there seemed to be no way out, Hinta's passion was shown to be his greatest ally to achieving what he wanted. Equally as notable is the fact that the Haikyu episode showcases to viewers that passion isn't limited to serving as a motivator simply to the person in possession of it, but also to other people. The Small Giant didn't even know Hinata, but that didn't stop him from lighting a spark to Hinata's eventual love of volleyball through the few minutes Hinata saw him on TV displaying his passion. And this isn't one of those cases that only happens in anime. After all, haven't you heard of stories where someone was inspired to play an instrument or start something new because they saw someone else doing it, someone else enjoying it? Maybe you've even heard stories where someone intentionally pushed somebody else towards something they ended up treasuring. All in all, we can definitely say that Haikyu taught us a valuable lesson that anyone can take from it. Passion is powerful, and passionate people can influence the world around them. Secondly, failure is not a lost opportunity. Wendell Phillips once said, "What is defeat? Nothing but education. Nothing but the first step to something better." As Haikyu has depicted time and time again, failure and defeat are not lost opportunities, nor are they reasons to beat yourself up. Rather, they're opportunities we gain to look back and pick ourselves back up. Example 1. If you look back to the second season of Haikyu, you'll recall that Kurasano was able to beat Abajosai, Shiratorizawa, and go to nationals. That didn't come without, you guessed it, failure. During the previous qualifiers, Kurasano and Abajosai played a long, grueling game, which eventually ended in a devastating defeat for Kurasano, but Kurasano didn't let them weigh that down. Yes, Kurasano was sad. Yes, some of them even cried. They're humans after all. They're flawed beings just like us. We're all humans. It's natural and okay to feel sad, to feel upset, to be overwhelmed by emotion, but we can't let that stop us. We need to learn to cope with failure not just for the current time being, but for the future as well. The more one is able to pick themselves back up after failure, the more confident that individual will be in the future that they'll be able to pick themselves back up, and thus in the future will be able to do more things because the fear of defeat will no longer be a roadblock. Not only that, but of course, in order to improve, it's beneficial for us to make mistakes in order to reflect on them and fix them. In this scenario, after Kurasune's lost match to Abu's Josei, the team realized that it was entirely centered and dependent on Kageyama and Hinata's quick attacks. And that wouldn't work in the long term, because once people were able to beat their quick attacks, the team would be doomed. As a result, the team worked to master multiple attacks, hone and master their technique, and Kageyama and Hinata were even able to upgrade their quick attacks. Following, in the next match against Abu Josei, they were able to successfully beat them when the two teams came head to head, and eventually even beat Shiratorizawa, the strongest team in the prefecture, finally gaining a chance to go to nationals just as the team wanted. Thirdly, last but not least, teamwork. More specifically, the value of it, how to effectively reach it. And yes, I am referring to a sports anime as a great mentor to improving your teamwork. Just hear me out. Firstly, why is teamwork worth it? If you look back in the anime, Wiseman told Oikawa after he was disparaged in junior high after being beat yet again by Ushihima that basically, regardless of Ushihima is better than Oikawa one-on-one, they're playing volleyball. It's on the court. It's a better team of 6 that will win. As Kageyama explained later in the series when thinking back on that moment, when he overheard Iwazami say that, Wiseman wasn't referring to the idea of if 6 strong players are together on the team, they'll be a strong team. He spoke about how when those 6 players come together through their teamwork, a good team will multiply their skills together. Thus, the better team of 6 will win. Of course, everyone wants to win or benefit from their team and from their teamwork, no matter what the situation is, even if you're not playing volleyball or playing any kind of sport like they are. But how can we achieve it? Well, Haikyu also displays some answers of how to effectively improve and reach teamwork. One being building trust and the ability to depend on your teammates. Fostering trust takes time, but ultimately, it will be worth it. Take Sugawara, for example. Suga's shown to check in with his teammates throughout the game when he sets for them, in order to understand where they're at both mentally and physically at that point in time, and make the best decisions for them when setting. He understands the importance of their happiness, how emotions can impact one's performance. Consequently, he's been able to build relationships of trust with his teammates, with them feeling comfortable with Sugawara, understanding their strengths, weaknesses, and more, and placing faith in his abilities. Another idea that may be helpful when building and improving teamwork that Haikyu showcases is resolving conflicts. Rather than avoiding conflict at all costs, normalize it. It's normal to face conflict. After all, we're all human beings with minds and opinions of our own. In fact, if there's no conflict at all, be it in relationships, teams, etc., then that might be a red flag in its own, because it's impossible for everyone to be on the same page 100% at all times. Therefore, in teams, it's crucial to address the elephant in the room. Be open with one another, and be willing to listen to the others' ideas before conflict escalates into something much more serious. At the start, when Hinata wanted to change the quick attacks, Kageyama was utterly against it, and they bickered endlessly, even fighting it out. As the two reflected on what had happened between the two of them regarding their quick attacks, Kageyama took some time to think and opened himself up to words of advice. Notably, Oikawa, his rival, whom he swallowed his pride to ask permission for, and realized that Hinata was right. The quick attacks needed to change. The two worked together while working by themselves, as well to play their needed roles to achieve their goal, and ultimately were able to make their quick attacks an even more powerful of a weapon. Furthermore, Haikyu presents some incredible themes we can all implement and learn from our lives, regardless of if it's just sport and anime. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Whimsical Whispers Podcast. If you enjoyed, definitely like and subscribe and tune in for next week's episode for more content like this. And hey, if you have any more lessons Haikyu taught us that you'd like to add, or anything to say about this week's episode or Haikyu in general, feel free to comment down below or message us depending on the platform you're listening to this on. And thank you so much for giving us some of your valuable time today. We appreciate it. See you next week.